Our colleague Vusiwe Ngcobo is standing by out at McDonald's in Sandton, where she's following the sun there. Vusiwe, very good morning to you. Over to you. What's happening?
Good morning to you, Sims, and of course, good morning to our viewers at home. We are, of course, out here at the McDonald's in Sandton on Greystone Drive, and we really are making happy happen with McDonald's. Something else that makes us really happy as a nation are, of course, the world champions in the Springboks. Now, tomorrow night at 20 to 8 Central African time, they will be taking on a wounded Welsh side. The last time that the Welsh actually won a game was at the World Cup, where South Africa's Springboks came back with the trophy. And while we can say the Welsh Dragons, they lost their flame. I am joined now by Khanyisa Tshwaku, award-winning sports journalist, to unpack the encounter and what the expectations are. Now, Khanyisa, good morning to you. A lot of people say that the war between Rassie Erasmus and Warren Gatland has somehow subsided. What are your thoughts on that?
Good morning, V, and good morning to the viewers. Look, I mean, there has to be a huge element of professionalism between coaches because, look, they also get caught up by white line fever, by some subsets that happen on and off the field. Remember that Warren Gatland was the British and Irish Lions coach for that famed 2021 series, and remember that there were so many things that happened on the field, there were so many things that happened off the field that would have bred the rivalry. But also remember that Warren Gatland coaching Wales also were quite a big problem for us in 2018. Remember that Rassie went there with the Boks. They lost in Cardiff, and also they had a very, very sticky semi-final in Yokohama that South Africa won by 19.16. So there is a backstory to the story between Gatland and Erasmus. Now, but the problem is now Gatland is on a very terrible run at the moment, 11 consecutive losses. One feels that should they lose at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff tomorrow, he has to walk the plank because 12 successive losses for Wales is unprecedented, especially for a rugby nation that proud, even though they are facing significant challenges on and off the field.
It would be a very tricky one because you ask yourself as well, but who are they losing against if they lose tomorrow? It would be losing to the world champions. I want to speak on the Springbok team that Rassie has put together for tomorrow's encounter, because a lot of people were expecting a 5-3 split, but he set up his starting 15 differently. What do you make of how he's looking to come out?
Look, it's very clear with Rassie that the idea is to win. And I think he made it very clear before they left. He made it very clear, even in the rugby championship, that when they get to Europe for the end of year tour, their aim is to win. And I think every result needs to be looked at in that context, because remember now, should Jean Klein come off the bench, should Cameron Hanoko make his debut, that would have been the Boks fielding 52 players across 13 tests. So what then has happened is that there's been a developmental line, but within that developmental line, there's been winning because of those test matches, the two games that they lost, the one against Ireland in Durban, and then also the Argentina test in Santiago del Estero. Those games are lost by 1 point each. Small changes, of fortune, those games the Boks could have been 12-0 with having made all those changes. So if you look back at the fact that they've made, Rassie's picked 50 players, 52 to come on Saturday, and still win 11 out of 13, 11 tests, 10 out of 12 so far, tells you of the fact that the eye is on 2027, but also he's dealing with mid-short-term results, which is winning.
10 out of 12 for Coach Rassie Erasmus at the moment. I want to speak about that combination we see between Handré Pollard and Aphelele Fassi. What do you make of that combination? And would you say from your vantage point, it's stronger than the combination that Pollard has with Vili on attack?
So remember that Vili is probably at the fag end of his career at the moment. And you realize that one of the reasons why he's being managed is that he needs to get an opportunity to play his 100th test match in front of South African fans, which is, again, a nice thing because you want to celebrate a milestone, form and fitness allowing in front of fans, in front of family, and also make it easier for them to travel. However, though, Aphelele Fassi has pretty much changed how Rassie needs to view his fullbacks. You need to remember that Damian Willemse, if he wasn't injured, he would have probably been on this trip, and that would have changed the dynamic of how the Boks have picked their team. But also you can't begrudge how well Aphelele has played for the Sharks in the past 18 months. Remember that last season the Sharks were not great at all, but Aphelele remained a constant form, attacking force from the back. And the one thing that Apelele does have that is similar to Vili is playing a second pivot role where he steps up at 10 and distributes very well. And one needs to remember that Apelele, when he was still at Dell College, he played a lot of his rugby at 10 and 12. So that now adds to his skill set, where if the Boks now need a supplementary attacker, he can always step up and augment the attack, and also has a very good kicking game that then allows the Boks to kick themselves into decent playing positions in the opposition side of the field.
And we look at a Jesse almost cementing himself as that number 13 for the Springbok side. Many saying Lukhanyo's going to have his work cut out for him.
One of the things you need to, and it's one of those difficult conversations where Lukhanyo is comfortably and by far the better rugby player. But Jesse Kriel is playing the better rugby at the moment, and you cannot begrudge the fact that he is starting ahead of Lukhanyo, because he saw an opportunity through Lukhanyo's injury when Lukhanyo got injured against Argentina last year, and he made the most of it. And in big games, yes, Jesse brings a lot of different attributes as compared to Lukhanyo. Lukhanyo has far better rugby, but Jesse is doing what is asked of him to an exceptional degree. So you can't. Sometimes there is a coach's prerogative where you say a particular player now is better and therefore needs to walk back in the team. But what do you say about the player who's actually playing very well, which is what Jesse has been doing since the World Cup? Because one thing Jesse has done well, despite his own tactical and rugby IQ limitations, which aren't at Lukhanyo's level, he's fulfilled every role that has been asked of him off the box.
All right, let's call it for tomorrow evening. Which way do you see it going?
Look, I do see the Boks winning, but I don't think it will be as big a win as we think, because one of the things about the Wales have pride, and if their pride won't allow them to again be dragged down into a fight where they'll lose by 60, 70 points. The one thing though, last week's game just degenerated against Australia. Well, they started very well. They held Australia until a point. They could have and should have taken advantage of Samu Kerevi's 20 minutes off for a red card. However, though, Australia are going to be a bit of a difficult proposition next year, and they played very well, especially towards the back end of the game. But I do give the Boks the game, but it's just a case of by how wide.
Okay, so it may just be a point.
Look,
a point is a point. And as I start to almost move towards wrapping up with you, I want to touch on those World Rugby Awards and the nominations we saw come out, because a lot of people are surprised that Oxenchair didn't get the nod for World Rugby Player of the Year. What do you make of that? Because we've seen him play as a player that hasn't yielded to anyone, be it at club or country level.
It is shocking. It is shocking. One needs to understand that, yes, there haven't been props who have been nominated for the World Rugby Player of the Year awards, but Tshwaku has been absolutely magnificent this year. He's been magnificent with ball in hand. He's been magnificent in the scrums. Sides don't win scrums, but Ox wins scrums with the States, and he's become a positive caricature for scrummages across the world. There are teams. Joe Marler speaks of him in very high tones. And Joe Marler himself is not a person who actually speaks of opposition very highly. He's been absolutely magnificent. He's probably been at the core of why the scrum has been important, and he's spoken at length about why World Rugby should not be restrictive with the scrum laws. And he's actually been the person talking about it, and he's been showing it on the field that the difference between rugby league and rugby unions are the set pieces. And him being at the forefront of scrumming excellence has given prop forwards another voice. So I think it is massively, massively disappointing. Yes, Kalen Doris has played very well this year. You can't begrudge him that. Peter Steph Tutoy has been Peter Steph Tutoy. Cheslin Colby has been absolutely magnificent. Match-winning performances, but hey, yeah, it's disappointing.
Well, it's always lovely chatting to you, Khanyisa, and I can see you have the little one here, school drop-off after this, and I'm sure you'll be following the sun with the family as well as we follow the sun with McDonald's right here on Morning Live and making happy happen. That's how we'll wrap up your sports news in this hour. Let's take you back now to the studio.